Hey guys, so it's not often that I talk about pensions on this channel, but it is a personal finance channel and we want to make sure our personal finances are all well-rounded. And this is why today I thought I share with you about ways that I am personally planning to beef up or I'm already beefing up my pension. And this topic is actually being prompted by a conversation that I had with a family member who recently had a pay rise, and we were, lack of a better word, complaining about taxes. Even though we don't mind paying taxes, it's just that they seem to be getting higher and higher. You get a pay rise of say 20K, but when you actually look at the pay rise on a monthly basis, it's probably like 500, 600 pounds pay rise that you've actually had. So 20K sounds a lot on an annual basis, but when you break it down onto a monthly basis, it's not really that much. So we were talking about this, and I said to this family member, I was like, for me, one way that I have been able to reduce how much tax I am paying legally is through salary sacrifice. And that is one of the ways that I am beefing up my pension. So in today's video, I'll be talking about a couple of ways. I have my trusted notepad here where I have written down a few points that I want to discuss in today's video to talk about beefing up your pension. So if you are here in the UK, you may have seen or heard of the recent announcement where the government talked about increasing, and they have increased the pension allowance that we are allowed to save. I want to say tax-free, because on the pension allowance we don't pay any tax now. We paid later, in retirement when we're drawing down on our pension contributions. So it used to be 40K a year. That was the pension allowance. Now that allowance is 60K. So for people who are all above a certain threshold or earning a certain amount, I personally think it makes so much sense to start utilizing that pension allowance, because a lot of us are not actually aware or even familiar with the amount of tax allowances that we have that help us pay less tax now but save for the future. I think a lot of people in the UK have heard of the 20K allowance that we get with our ISAs, but I don't know if people are familiar with the pension allowance, which has increased to 60K. So I have written down 3 ways how I'm planning and are actually beefing up my my pension. So let's get in today's video. Hey guys, my name is Miranda, and on this channel I share everything personal finance. I cover budgeting, saving and investing. If these topics of interest to you, then please hit that like button, subscribe guys if you haven't already. Thank you so much for helping me reach over £1,000, and now I am working hard to bring out good content for you guys to help me also get monetized. I think 2,000 views away from getting monetized, but that's okay. Slow but steady is, the how you run the race. So yeah, but I hope you enjoy the content that I'm sharing. If you do, subscribe and also hit that like button as well. So the first way that I am beefing up my pension, and I've already talked about it, is via salary sacrifice. So this concept, to me, I learned of it when I was watching Kenny from the Humble Penny. They're here on YouTube, and I'm part of their Financial Joy Academy membership program that they run. We meet every 5 a.m. or, well, I haven't been attending of late because of my traveling, but I'm part of their group, and it's from Kenny that I learned about this salary sacrifice thing. And don't get me wrong, I have come across this verbiage before in the past, but it didn't actually appeal to me. The idea of giving up some of my money was actually not something that I wanted, especially as I had a lot of bills to consider. But it wasn't until Kenny explained it in more detail what that meant and how that looked like and how it impacted how much tax you paid, that's when I was like, oh, okay, I want to do this. And especially since when I was younger, I actually opted out of employer pension packages. I was only doing my national insurance, which I thought, you know what, it will be there. But as I've become more financial I've gained more financial knowledge, I have realized that, you know what, we may not even have these government pensions that we are contributing into now when we retire. So it made sense for me to start having another pot that I managed, obviously with my employer's contribution, and then, you know, build that up instead of only relying on one source, which is the government. We don't know what the future is going to be. So salary sacrifice is the first way that I'm beefing up my pension. And by that, I mean, when, you know, say for example, you were on 50K, right? And then you get a pay rise, and let's say your pay rise is now 65K. This is a jump in tax brackets. Okay, and this just, you know, it means you start paying that 40% tax. You're moving from paying, is it 20% or 32%? I can't even remember anymore. But you are jumping from that almost middle tax bracket to the second highest tax bracket here in the UK. So that jump, you get the pay rise, but it doesn't even feel like you've gotten that pay rise, because the majority of it, because of jumping tax brackets, is going into tax. So for you to retain some of that money and actually receive more in your paycheck, you can do a salary sacrifice. So by this, I mean contributing into your employer pension. A lot of us here in the UK have employers. I don't know if every employer is mandated to do this, but I know a lot, I want to say 95% of employers in the UK offer an employer a matching scheme with your pension. So you sacrifice part of your salary and then your employer matches it. And I think the minimum match is 4% of your 4%, I think. I don't know if it's of your annual pay or what have you, but 4% is the amount that your employer is actually going to be matching contributions that you put in. So you yourself have to put in 4% of your annual pay, and then they also match that with their 4%. So essentially, you are contributing 8% towards your pension. 4% of that is technically free money, but I think of it as free money, but it's also not free money because you are working for your employer, right? So they are also helping you build up your pension. So that is the first way. I personally contribute about 8 to 10K. I've given up about 8 to 10K of my annual pay, and that goes to my pension, and my employer matches that. So I put in 8%, my employer matches that 8%. So in total, I'm actually putting in about 16% towards my pension, which makes me really, really happy. And that is one way that you can beef up your pension as well. The second way that I have written here is actually if you are, say, a 9 to 5, but you also have a business on the side where you are self-employed as well, that is also another way that you can beef up your pension. So you can have the pension that your employer puts in, you know, the contributing, the match that your employer does, but then on the side as well, when you have your own business, you pay yourself a salary, and part of that can be going into your pension as well. That is another way that you can beef up your pension. I've seen quite a lot of business owners that I know that do this. Some have 9 to 5, some do not, but the ones that have 9 to 5 are actually making double use of this. But the allowance still remains, obviously for now it's 60K. So a lot of people who have 9 to 5 where the employer match plus their own business where they contribute to their pension via their business, that they can only use up to 60K a year. Before it was 40K, now it's 60K. But that's also another great way to beef up your pension, especially if you do have those funds available. So instead of paying astronomical tax, you can send it to your pension. You will pay tax in the future, but right now you kind of going with that 60K allowance and beefing up your pension, and that might help you retire early. So maybe when the drawdown age of, is it 55, soon to be 57, and you are getting closer to that, you might want to make use of that so you can beef up your pension as quickly as possible, provided you do have the funds to do that. So that is the second way. The third way that I have here is you can also open and manage your own self-invested personal pension. And I have this with Vanguard. So I contribute into my pension myself, my SIP, self-invested personal pension, which I manage. So this is with my after-tax money that I put into the SIP, and then the government also matches my contribution to that as well. So I'm kind of trying to use up all available avenues to me to be able to beef up my pension. And I think where the government makes it feasible for you to do it, definitely jump on the bandwagon and do it, because our personal allowance, I think we're in a freeze with the personal allowance. It's not going to increase like it's done over the last few years. And if your income is going up, but your personal allowance, so your personal allowance, I think it's 12,700. I'll put the correct amount on the screen if it's not 12,700. What this means is if you get let me use a calculator here because I'm not going to be able to do these numbers in my head, but let's say you get paid 50K. 50K is how much you make. Your personal allowance of 12,700. So your personal allowance is 12,700. You have to take away that 12,700, and that will give you 37,300. So this is what you pay tax on, right? And if you do salary sacrifice as well, this reduces how much tax you pay. So if you were at 50 and now you increase your salary increased to 65, right? You increase to 65 and we remove 12,700, you are now paying tax on 52,300. Okay, so that is another way that you can make use of all of these allowances. But with the freeze on personal allowance, it really is harming a lot of people. As their pay goes up, they still jump in tax brackets, which means they're still paying more tax. But there are ways, legal ways allowed by the government for you to be able to reduce how much tax you pay. And personally, I'm making use of the salary sacrifice program, and also by side businesses using that as well to pay into the pension. But then also post-tax, I'm also contributing into a SIP, so the pension that I manage myself, and that is how I am able to beef up my pension. So again, I haven't spoken much about pensions on this channel outside of giving you an update on where my SIP is at and where my personal pension that I have with my employer is at. I haven't really gone into detail and spoken about pensions, and I thought in today's video I do just that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.